Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the really strange and pretty dramatic story of a major world's capital that, believe it or not, had to be founded twice. Buenos Aires.
So, how on earth does a city get founded twice? It's a weird fact, right? Buenos Aires actually has two official founding dates, and they're more than 40 years apart. To figure out why, we've got to unravel this incredible story of legendary treasure, just brutal failure, and some really smart, calculated strategy.
Okay, so to get why there are two foundings, we have to go way back to a time before there was any city at all, when this whole region was just a quick and often really dangerous pit stop for European explorers. So as you can see, the first few encounters with Europeans were brief and, well, often tragic. But then a rumor started, a rumor about immense wealth. It was this Guarani legend of a Sierra del Plata, a mountain literally made of silver. Now, this was probably a distorted story about the real Inca mines way over in Potosi, but that detail didn't matter. This legend completely captured the imagination of the Spanish crown.
And that legend, that whisper of a silver mountain, that was all it took. It launched this massive expedition, the very first real attempt to conquer the land, and it was driven entirely by the promise of getting rich.
So in 1536, this guy, an adelantado named Pedro de Mendoza, shows up with a gigantic fleet. We're talking 14 ships. It was huge. He sets up a little fort and calls it Port of Our Lady St. Mary's of the Good Air. But let's be clear, this wasn't a city. It was more like a shaky beachhead, a temporary camp in the hunt for treasure.
But the reality on the ground? It was a complete nightmare. Instead of finding silver, the settlers found starvation. They found disease, and they found relentless, constant conflict with the local tribes. Things got so desperate, unbelievably grim. As one chronicler at the time recorded, the starving settlers actually resorted to cannibalism. It was that bad. So after 5 long years of just misery and death, the first attempt to found Buenos Aires was a total failure. By 1541, the fort was officially abandoned. The only things they left behind were the horses they brought, which went wild and started roaming the plains. For 44 years, the site was just empty. But things had changed. The Spanish Empire had new needs, and that led to a second, and this time, very different, attempt to build a city. And this just lays it out perfectly. The difference between the two foundings is like night and day. The second go-around in 1580 wasn't some treasure hunt launched from Europe. No, it was a calculated geopolitical move. It was a local expedition led by Juan de Garay, coming down from the already established Spanish city of Asunción.
See, the goal wasn't mythical silver anymore. It was about practical, real-world control. This time, the plan was to build a permanent city, to actually distribute land, set up a government. And a key part of this new strategy also involved a pretty brutal campaign to subdue the local tribes who had fought back so fiercely the first time.
Now, what's really fascinating is that the new city didn't get its start through official channels. Nope. Instead, it was basically built by breaking all the rules.
Think about it like this. Spain had this official rule that all trade, especially that precious silver from Potosi, had to go through Lima, Peru. But that route was incredibly slow and expensive, so Buenos Aires became the illegal backdoor to the empire. It was the center of this huge smuggling operation, a much faster, cheaper way to get silver to Europe. And that illegal trade? That became the real economic engine of the city.
Eventually, the Spanish crown just had to face reality. In 1776, they made Buenos Aires an official viceroyalty capital. And in 1778, they finally opened the port to legal trade. And the result? The city's population just exploded. It went from about 11,000 people to 45,000 in just over 2 decades. That's a jump of nearly 400%.
So you've got this really unique history of failure, followed by incredible resilience and a whole lot of illicit commerce. And all of that is what forged the soul of this city.
And you can see that spirit take shape when the British invaded. It wasn't the Spanish forces who defended the city, it was the locals. It was the militias. And that gave them this huge new sense of self-confidence. They realized, hey, we don't need some king an ocean away. That self-reliance is what fueled their fight for independence and, eventually, paved the way for the incredible multicultural metropolis we know today.
So the answer to our question, how a city gets founded twice, it really lies in this amazing journey.
It's a journey from a doomed treasure hunt to a strategic, world-class gateway, and it's a story that perfectly explains the pragmatic, defiant, and just incredibly enduring spirit of Buenos Aires.